15 Haunted Tales Revealed, Sinister, Spine-Chilling Experiences That Will Terrify You. In the quiet suburb of Maplewood, the air buzzed with an eerie calm, a facade masking the nightmarish undertones lurking just beneath. Lisa, a weary but determined single mother, had thought she found solace in this picturesque neighborhood, a place where kids played under the watchful eyes of parents, and the sun painted everything in warm golden hues. Yet, as dusk draped its cloak over Maplewood, shadows stretched like sinister fingers, reaching into every corner of her new home. As the sun fled, anxieties crept in. Lights flickered overhead, and whispers seemed to slither through the walls. Lisa shrugged it off, blaming the quirks of an old house or letting her son's imagination run wild. But when Ethan woke her one night, fear choked his voice, mumbling of a strange man watching. Her heart hammered in her chest. Ignoring it felt wrong. Her protective instincts flared, but comfort turned into dread as a cold draft swept through the room, the shadows dancing in grotesque shapes. The next day, Lisa broached the subject with Mr. Collins, their neighbor, whose unyielding gaze sent chills crawling down her spine. His words dripped with a chilling sweetness. "We look out for each other here," he admonished darkly, stirring an ancient fear deep within her. Something was off. A mother's intuition echoed warnings louder than any ghostly whispers could. Days turned into nights filled with unease. Ethan discovered scratched symbols on his bedroom wall, a playground turned into a prison of his imagination. His laughter faded, morphing into timid whispers. "Mr. Collins talks to me, Mom. He says he knows us." Panic surged through Lisa as reality twisted around her, warping into something sinister. How could a neighbor, seemingly benign, know so much about them? She plumbed the depths of the town's history, uncovering tales so chilling that the local library seemed to hold its own heartbeat. Photos of families long gone stared back at her, their smiles frozen in time, reminding her of the darkness hidden beneath Maplewood's quaint facade. The fabric of her safety shredded as night fell, the oppressive atmosphere pressing in on her, and then panic struck. Ethan vanished after another encounter with Mr. Collins, his churning face horror etched upon it. With dread gripping her heart and shadows swirling around her, Lisa raced through her new, haunting neighborhood, banging on doors. Neighbors peered through windows, brows furrowed, eyes vacant and terrified. What had they unleashed? "Where is he?" she demanded of Mr. Collins, the words slicing through the paralyzing silence. His grin sent shivers skirting down her spine. The secrets of Maplewood threatened to engulf her. As he revealed the twisted truth behind the house they'd chosen, earnest hope began to slip from her grasp. Everything around her felt like a meticulously crafted trap. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Staring into his cold eyes, dread enveloped her. Those shadows, those damn shadows had grown legs, prowling behind the comfort of the familiar. Every instinct screamed at her to run, yet she stood frozen. Would she flee from the facade of safety or plunge into the heart of a nightmare woven into the very soil of Maplewood? As the last light flickered overhead, she could feel the chill tightening around her, squishing her heart with each passing second. Now danger lurked not in the shadows but in the very people around her. The truth was out there, but did she have the courage to find it? Panic clawed at Lisa as she struggled to process Mr. Collins' words. They hung heavy in the thick air, enveloping her in a choking fog of despair. His smile widened, impossibly sinister, while the porch creaked beneath her feet, echoing like a funeral dirge. "You've already lost him, you know," he said, his voice slithering into her mind, coiling around her sanity. "Please, where is my son?" The words came out weak, trembling under the weight of her fear. The light around her dimmed as the chill grew, wrapping around her like an icy shroud. "You've come too late. Maplewood always claims its own," he said, gesturing vaguely to the quiet streets that now felt unwelcoming, hostile. The shadows lengthened, clawing at her heels as though sensing her fear, eager to pull her into their deepening darkness. Desperation urged her to turn and flee, but the paralyzing terror kept her rooted to the spot. Memories of Ethan played in her mind, the sound of his laughter, the innocent gleam in his eyes. She couldn't allow this monster to take him. Couldn't let him haunt her forever. Leaving Mr. Collins behind, Lisa stumbled back into the house, dread pooling in her stomach. She dashed upstairs, feeling each creak of the floor resonate like a heartbeat. Every room called out to her, echoes of a child's laughter intertwining with her own anxious breath. Ethan's bedroom door was slightly ajar. Heart pounding, she pushed it open slowly, the hinges groaning nervously. Inside, the sight made her blood run cold. The scratched symbols on the walls glowed faintly in the dim light, twisting and writhing like living veins. Shadows skittered across the surfaces, and a whisper sliced through the silence, a tone so familiar yet tainted with something sinister. Mommy. Ethan's voice, broken and trembling, floated from the corner of the room where darkness pooled deeper than the rest. Ethan. She rushed forward, but something held her back, a powerful force, as if the very air conspired against her. The whispers grew louder, filling her mind with haunting chants. The symbols pulsated, struggling to free themselves from the confines of the walls, reaching out as if trying to ensnare her. Stay with me, Mommy. Ethan's voice trembled, barely more than a whisper now. She could see him, huddled against the wall, eyes wide with terror. But something moved in the shadows behind him, a massive shape folding in on itself like a grotesque parody of a person. She took a step closer, desperation igniting a surge of courage. I'm here. I'm coming to get you. Each word felt like a lifeline as she pushed against the unnatural force holding her back. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind her, cutting off the only source of light. The room plunged into darkness, a suffocating void that swallowed her panic whole. She could barely breathe, sheer terror wrapping around her throat like a noose. Mommy. Ethan repeated, this time echoing from the blackness. The weight of something ancient, something hungry and evil settled between them, charging the air with a malevolent energy. The shadows flickered with a life of their own, undulating in response to her fear. Ethan. She screamed, clawing at the door, but it felt as solid as stone. The darkness began to swirl, and she could feel an icy breeze brush against her skin. Was it the wind, or was it the breath of the thing that lurked just beyond her reach? As the shadows closed in, she understood then that Maplewood wasn't just a town, it was a graveyard of hidden horrors, a place that feasted on innocence. The realization hit her, the truth of this town ran deeper than she ever imagined, it etched its way into its very children. She had to find Ethan before she lost him to the darkness forever, but as she spun to face the shifting form behind her, the last thing she heard was a laugh, a dark, echoing sound that promised nothing but despair. In that instant of chilling clarity, one terrifying question lodged itself in her mind: what did Maplewood want from them? The answer loomed over her and she had no idea how far it would go to claim its prize. The darkness wrapped around Lisa, thick and suffocating. She stood frozen, heart racing, eyes straining to pierce the void that had devoured the room. Ethan's voice, sweet yet haunting, dripped with despair. The shadows shifted and morphed, revealing glimpses of twisted forms, quivering at the edges of her vision. Mommy. The voice echoed again, pulling her like a moth to a flickering flame, a flame that instinctively warned her of the lurking danger. With a surge of determination, Lisa moved toward the sound, but her feet felt heavy, as if the ground beneath her was turning to lead. The symbols on the walls pulsated, each throb like a heartbeat, each chant a cruel whisper that gnawed at her will. Ethan. She screamed again, breathless. Fear clawed at her throat, but she couldn't stop now. With trembling fingers, she reached towards the darkness where her child huddled, praying he would feel her touch. A bone-chilling laugh rang through the room, reverberating off the walls and twisting her stomach into knots. You want him? The voice taunted, now deep and sinister, rattling like dry bones. Then come closer. Lisa hesitated, resisting the urge to recoil. Let him go. She shouted, clenching her fists until her nails bit into her palms. What do you want with us? The laughter erupted again, echoing around her, filling her mind with dread. You think you can fight Maplewood? Every child who enters is claimed. Yours is no different. Panic surged, igniting the fire of desperation within her. Don't you dare touch him. She lunged into the darkness, reaching out. Her fingers grazed something cold and soft. Mommy! Ethan cried out, the sound filled with pure terror. She felt his small, trembling form and seized him, pulling him close, but the force holding them back tightened, a vice of shadows squeezing her lungs. Run! She screamed, only to find the doorway had vanished. The air turned electric, the whispers grew into a cacophony, drowning Lisa's thoughts. Visions of horror danced before her, the faces of lost children, trapped in agony. They seemed to reach out for her, their eyes wide with fear and longing. Their emotions, raw and palpable, sank deep into her, sending tears streaming down her cheeks. No! I won't let this happen. She cried, her voice rising above the dissonance. She felt the shadows turn on her, piercing icy fingers drawing closer. Lisa pulled Ethan tighter, willing him to stay strong. In that moment of awareness, clarity struck her. This darkness wasn't just a force, it was the embodiment of Maplewood, a conscious entity that thrived on fear and consumed the very souls of those who sought refuge in its embrace. Ethan, listen to me, she whispered fiercely through the chaos. We are not lost. We will find the light. But the force surged violently, thrashing against them, amplifying the terror with every breath she took. Something in the darkness throbbed, and in that heartbeat, she recognized a flicker of hope, the faintest glimmer of light, struggling against the consuming black. Hold on to me. With everything you have. She shouted, defying the shadows. The pull on her began to loosen, but the darkness roared in pain, the twisted forms writhing as they pushed toward the light. Ethan's small fingers dug into her arm, and she felt his warmth spreading through the chill. They began to move, not backward or forward, but sideways, away from the crushing mass of darkness. Then she felt a sudden rush of wind that swept over her, flooding the room with light, illuminating the grotesque shapes around them. The shadows recoiled, shrieking like wounded animals. Run! She shouted again, and they dashed toward the voice that beckoned them through the tumult, but then, as the doorway finally reappeared, a chilling realization gripped her, they weren't free yet. A presence loomed just beyond the threshold, watching and waiting. The laugh returned, low and menacing. You'll never escape what Maplewood has done. As they fled, Lisa felt an icy grip latched onto her heart, leaving her with one burning question: how could she save her son from a town that sought to consume them both? The remnants of Maplewood whispered behind her, a promise that the hunt had only just begun. The battle for Ethan's soul loomed, and she had to be ready, but how much darkness was she willing to face to save her child? Lisa burst through the doorway, pulling Ethan close as they tumbled into a narrow alley. The light faded behind them, but the echoes of that ominous laughter lingered, clawing at her sanity. Mommy, I'm scared. Ethan whimpered, his small voice trembling. I know, sweetheart, she whispered, clutching him tightly. But we have to keep moving. Panic raced through her veins. They weren't safe yet. The alley stretched into darkness, the walls slick with something wet and warm blood. She pushed the thought aside, forcing herself to focus. This way, she said, leading him deeper into the shadows. They moved swiftly, every step punctuated by the sound of their hurried breaths. Yet the air felt different here, it vibrated with an unsettling energy, crackling like static electricity. Lisa's instincts screamed at her to turn back, but she couldn't. Ethan abruptly stopped, tugging at her hand. Mommy, look! She turned to see flickering lights dim and ghostly swirling in front of them. The sight was mesmerizing, drawing her closer, but she resisted. Ethan, don't move. She ordered, but her heart raced as if those lights held secrets she craved to know. Mommy! He begged, straining toward the dance of glowing orbs. I want to touch them. No. Stay with me. The words fell from her lips, uneven and frantic. What she saw in those lights was not mere illumination, but the faces of the vanished children she'd glimpsed before. They floated, mouths moving in silent screams, eyes pleading for release. Then, the laughter returned, echoing through the alley like a deafening roar. Shadows shifted around them, pressing in, clawing at the walls. You think you can run? The voice purred. You cannot escape Maplewood, it knows all your fears. Lisa pulled Ethan closer, her grip tightening as she felt the cold wrap around her. We're not afraid. She shouted, though she could feel her resolve wavering. A wail rose from inside her, raw and desperate. The shadows loomed, swirling with anticipation, and Lisa's mind raced. Memories flashed before her eyes, Ethan playing in the backyard, the warmth of his laughter echoing in her heart. She couldn't lose him. With a surge of adrenaline, she shouted, "Find the light, Ethan. Hold on to the light." Suddenly, the flickering orbs surged toward them, engulfing Ethan in a halo of warmth. His eyes widened, reflecting the glow. "Mommy, I can see them." Darkness screamed in rage. "No. Do you think it will save you?" Without thinking, Lisa reached for Ethan, shielding him with her body. But in that instant, the lights began to fade, dimming under the weight of the shadows creeping closer. The alley twisted and bent, separating them. "Ethan!" she cried, panic flooding her chest as she felt the shift in the air. "Stay close. Don't let go." She could see him, just out of reach, caught in a swirl of those eerie lights. His frightened face turned to her, and for a split second, she felt the remnants of hope. But then, the darkness surged, a powerful tide that threatened to engulf them. The whispers amplified into a deafening roar, merging into laughter that echoed her worst nightmares. Shadows stretched toward her, clawing hands reaching for both of them. "We will be together." Ethan shrieked, but Lisa sensed that togetherness was not what awaited them. "Mommy." His voice was swallowed by the chaos. "Ethan." In that moment, as the shadows advanced, Lisa's heart shattered. She understood that Maplewood's grip was stronger than she'd ever imagined. The price of survival could be steep, and every fear she harbored was laid bare before her distrustful eyes. The darkness felt alive, slithering closer with each beat of her heart. Would she have to sacrifice everything to rescue him? Could she even trust herself to find the light as the town's whispers promised all they had lost? Beneath the onslaught of terror, she had to choose. Fight or flee. But what could stand against Maplewood's merciless hunger? As the shadows closed in, Lisa gripped her son's hand tighter. She wouldn't let go no matter what came next. But then, just as she thought they might break free, another laugh echoed, a chilling sound that raised the hairs on her neck. "Welcome back, dear Lisa." The invitation felt like a death sentence. And with that, a surge of icy fear gripped her heart, urging her to face the unspeakable that lay ahead. What awaited them if she dared to confront Maplewood's darkest secret? The shadows lunged at them, and the laughter echoed louder, wrapping around Lisa like a noose. The air thickened, heavy with terror as she tightened her grip on Ethan, determined not to let go. But the darkness pulsed, hungry, the very essence of Maplewood clawing at her sanity. "Mommy, I don't want to be here." Ethan wailed, his small voice cracking, tears streaming down his cheeks. "I know, baby. Just hold on." She stumbled back, navigating the narrow alley as the walls seemed to compress around her. "Do you want to play?" The voice came from everywhere, smooth and twisted, thick with malice. It was a mockery, a dragon of despair breathing down their backs. "Playtime never ends here, dear Lisa." With renewed urgency, Lisa pulled Ethan deeper into the darkness, her mind racing. She could feel something writhing beneath her skin, fear, but also a fierce will to protect. It was the primal instinct of a mother facing an insurmountable foe. Echoing laughter beat against her eardrums, drowning out her thoughts. "Remember the backyard?" she said suddenly, hoping to ground them both in a memory. "The swing set? When you tried to fly?" Ethan nodded, his wide eyes filled with confusion and dread. "But it's dark, Mommy. I can't see." She turned to face him, her heart pounding against her ribcage. "Just close your eyes and think of the swing, okay? We can do this." Gritting her teeth, Lisa pushed aside the eerie glow that tried to lure them in. The flickering lights danced like fireflies in her peripherals, trying to lead them towards the darkness. Instead, she tried to focus on the tangible, the warmth in Ethan's hand, the scrape of bricks against her legs, the way air refrained from whispering words of despair. "I want to go home," Ethan cried, his small voice shrill as the shadows loomed, clawing toward them like ravenous beasts. "Then we will." She felt the cold seep into her bones. A shiver rippled through her as she sensed they were not alone anymore. Shapes began to emerge, twisted forms of children, their faces half hidden in shadows. Their mouths moved in big, silent screams, eyes wide, desperately searching for help that would never come. Then, amidst the throng of shadows, she heard it, a thin whisper weaving through the cacophony. "Not all games end well." Something inside Lisa frayed. The innocence of childhood smeared with darkness haunted her, and the laughter transformed into a haunting promise of torment. "No more!" she screamed, pushing forward, dragging Ethan with her. The darkness shrieked, the chorus of terrified, ghostly children crescendoing into a wild din. Bricks crumbled around them under unseen weight, and the alley twisted further still, narrowing their path. Panic clawed at her throat as she stumbled, her foot snagging against an unseen root. They fell, bodies colliding with the cold, damp ground. "Ethan!" She turned, her heart racing as she struggled to see through the ever-thickening shadows. But Ethan wasn't there. "Mommy! Help!" His voice echoed from within the dark, punctured by the sound of laughter. The mocking laughter of Maplewood. "Ethan!" She scrambled to her feet, the world spinning. The walls pulsed like a dark heartbeat. "Find the light." Ethan's voice rang again, distant and echoing, but now mingled with something dark and menacing. A rush of adrenaline coursed through her, igniting every nerve in her body. Running blindly in his direction, she could feel the walls closing in, the shadows wrapping around her. "I'm coming. I won't leave you." Yet, as she reached out, hands grasping at emptiness, a spine-chilling realization crept in. The shadows were not just around her, they were within her. The price of survival meant embracing the darkness. "What will you sacrifice to save him?" The sinister voice coiled around her like smoke, smooth and intertwining. "The question is, dear Lisa, what do you fear losing the most?" Her breath hitched as the laughter escalated, pulling her deeper into despair. What price would she pay? Her sanity, her soul, or Ethan himself? And in that moment, her choice loomed over her like a guillotine. But ahead lay the dark unknown, and there was no path backward. Could she conquer Maplewood's nightmare and reclaim her son? Or would the shadows swallow them whole, leaving only echoes behind? As the laughter rose anew, she steadied her breath, knowing she was running out of time. But would she have the strength to face it all? The unspeakable truth waited, lurking just beyond the veil. The darkness boomed with laughter as Lisa pushed through it, desperation fueling her every step. "Ethan!" she screamed, her voice cracking with fear and urgency. The alley twisted in on itself, a labyrinth of despair, the shadows writhing like serpents. The air grew thicker, an oppressive blanket dripping with malice, wrapping around her throat. "Mommy! I can't see." Ethan's voice floated like a ghost, distant yet piercing. It cut through the chaos, igniting something primal within her. She stumbled forward, her heart racing, trying to drown out the sounds of laughter that echoed in dissonant harmony, then a flicker, a shimmer in the distance. Was it a light? Or merely a trick of her failing mind? Lisa's heart thudded in her chest as she sprinted toward it. "Ethan!" She called, blindly reaching out as if her fingers could grasp onto the flickering warmth, but with every desperate step, the laughter intensified, wrapping around her like a lover's embrace, both comforting and sinister. Shadows morphed, taking on shapes, curling figures, twisted limbs reaching, beckoning her into their cold grip. Tiny hands, small enough to belong to children, clawed at her from the deeper recesses of the alley, silently begging, pleading in their own macabre manner. "Help us!" they mouthed, voices lost to the cacophony. Frightened eyes glistened in the dark, reflecting terror that mirrored her own. "Ethan!" She pushed harder against the suffocating weight of the shadows. She could feel the coolness of the bricks beneath her fingers, the roughness of the ground she was crawling toward. Just a few more steps, then silence. A pause so thick she felt the world hold its breath. Her heart hammered, the sound deafening in her own ears, as the laughter faded just enough for her to hear something else, a soft weeping, fragile and broken. "Mommy?" Ethan's plea cut through the silence, despair wrapped around each syllable. It felt close, closer than ever, filling her with renewed hope. "Yes. I'm here." She dashed down the narrowing alley, her pulse thrumming with each frantic step. "I'm coming for you, Ethan. I won't leave you. Help me please." His voice trembled, anxiety threading through the words like a noose. Suddenly, shadows surged forward, rushing to consume her. She screamed as icy fingers grasped her limbs, yanking, pulling her deeper into the night. The darkness laughed, an overwhelming, guttural sound that shook her bones. "If you want him, you must play." The words slithered around her like a chant, enticing and vile. "Play? I don't want to play." Lisa gasped, panic pooling in her stomach. "I want my son." "Then decide, what will you give in return?" The voice twisted, overlaying with the sound of more laughter, more cries of children, lost souls caught in agony. Despair crashed over her, a wave of fear threatening to drown her. "I'm not losing him." She shouted defiantly to the shadows, digging her nails into the cold brick, planting her feet against rigidity under her. "I'll do whatever it takes." The ground beneath her trembled in response, and suddenly, the laughter fell silent. The shadows hesitated, as if considering her words, weighing the sincerity that was steeped in her desperation, and then, a tiny hand grasped her own from the darkness. It was warm, small and familiar. "Mommy!" Ethan cried, relief spilling out as they came together in that suffocating abyss. But even as they clung to one another, she felt the shadows shifting. They were not gone, they were merely waiting, brooding, observing the bond between mother and child. "Remember the price," the sinister voice cooed, and at that moment, the familiar echo of fear clawed back into her chest. "What's most valuable to you?" In that fleeting instant, she realized she had only just begun to escape. The true horror of Maplewood was still to come. All around them, shadows stirred, growing stronger, angrier than before. The laughter crescendoed once again, mingling with the cries of the lost, and as Lisa clutched Ethan, she felt the walls closing in, knowing they hadn't won just yet. But now they had a path forward. One that twisted deeper into the heart of darkness. As she took a tentative step into the depths of gloom, she whispered, "I'll find the light, Ethan. I promise." But with each echoing step, the atmosphere turned sharp and suffocating, the shadows lurking closer, and the house of horrors promised not merely a game, but a sacrifice that was yet to unfold. What would they demand, and what would she have to lose? The laughter rose like a tide, swallowing their hopes whole. Would she uncover the hidden light, or lose everything once and for all? The shadows swirled around them, their laughter rising to a maddening pitch. Lisa clutched Ethan tighter, her heart racing as they staggered deeper into the murky embrace of the alley. Every turn seemed to shift, altering the path forward, leaving dread in their wake. The warmth of her son's hand was both consolation and a harsh reminder of everything at stake. "Where are you taking us?" Lisa gasped. The words felt trapped, swallowed by the suffocating gloom. "You'll see," echoed the malicious voice, delight gleaming in each syllable like a knife. It cut through the darkness with a sharpness that set her teeth on edge. Lisa sensed the shadows gathering, murmurs of excitement crackling through the cold air. They were playing a game, a deadly one. Each step they took felt heavier, as if the ground beneath them was complicit in their despair. The darkness pulsed, swirling with an almost sentient intent, as if the alleys themselves had conspired with the shadows. "Mommy, I'm scared," Ethan's voice trembled. Fear laced his words, clutching at her heart, demanding her attention. "Me too," she admitted, though she fought to mask the panic threatening to overtake her. "But we're together. That's what matters." The words spilled out, tentative, as she glanced toward the shadowy figures that emerged and receded, their shapes twisting in grotesque ways. The laughter began again, but this time it was punctuated by screams, cries of children echoing through the alleyways, layering her fear with disbelief. "Help me! I can't see!" echoed a voice, chillingly familiar. It was a calling from within her past, a haunting reminder of lost innocence. Desperation surged within her. Each child she heard reminded her of Ethan, each cry roiling her stomach in guilt. "We need to get out of here," she shouted, forcing herself to move forward, the tether of his hand pulling her along. The shadows shifted, vibrating with anticipation. "To move forward, you must play," they called, singing the words low and menacing, almost taunting. "What kind of game?" Lisa shouted back, her voice strained as she fought the encroaching dread. "Outrun your fears or they will come for you." The chilling laughter reverberated off the walls, each note echoing her terror. The walls seemed to press closer, rocks scraping against her arms, subtle threats pursuing them. "Mommy!" Ethan's voice cracked again, pulling her focus back to him. Her heart broke at the fear in his eyes, wide and shimmering, clouded with tears. "I don't want to play." "That's okay," she replied desperately, kneeling down to meet his gaze. "We want to play. We're going to find a way out." But the darkness trembled with laughter, a pulse that echoed through the air around them. "Flee, little souls. You must collect the light to escape." The shadowy figures pressed in, casting long forms that danced like marionettes animated by unseen hands. What light? Desperation seeped through her. She knew every moment mattered now. "Ethan!" she shouted, winded with fear and resolve. "We need to be brave. Remember what we talked about. Focus on the light." And then it struck her. In the depths of her memory where the past collided with the present, she remembered the flashlight in Ethan's backpack, the one he kept for adventures. "We need to find it. We can do this together." But the shadows were already swirling faster. Growling whispers filled her ears. "You have little time. The price will rise. What will you give us?" With a trembling hand, she scanned the darkness, willing herself to find anything, some spark, some source of hope. Would they require a sacrifice? Was the price truly the light, or something far more insidious? A chill slithered down her spine as the shadows closed tighter around them, gnashing in anticipation. She had to settle on what she was willing to lose, and there was no turning back. "Ethan," she whispered, "stay close. I can't let them take you no matter the cost." But what lay ahead in the darkness promised a choice that would haunt her forever. What did these macabre forces truly want, and did she have the strength to survive this sinister game? As the laughter crescendoed once again, a whisper mingled with it, a flicker of light was close. Would they find it before the shadows swallowed them whole? What if this was no game at all? Lisa's mind raced as she turned in every direction, desperately seeking that glimmer of light. But the shadows pressed in, thickening the air, wrapping around her throat like a noose. Where is it?" she choked out. No answer came, only the cacophony of laughter growing louder, jagged and sharp, slicing through her resolve. Ethan's grip tightened, and she felt his tiny body shudder. "Mommy, I'm so scared." She breathed deeply, forcing calm. "It's going to be okay, baby. I promise." But deep down, doubt gnawed at her. The laughter mingled with the voices of children calling for help, their cries sinking into her like a weighted stone. Then, something flickered. A glow in the distance, barely visible but undeniably there. Ethan. Look. Lisa pointed, hope igniting within her. It was faint, almost like a trapped firefly. We have to get to that light. Mommy, the shadows, they're getting closer. Ethan's voice trembled, frightened eyes darting to the ominous shapes closing in around them. You hold on to me. Lisa squeezed his hand. We run, okay? On 3. She counted, adrenaline surging. 1, 2, 3. They bolted forward, the darkness howling around them, shadows stretching like fingers, grasping and pulling. Each step felt like running through molasses, the ground sticky and cold beneath her feet. Faster, Ethan. She dared a glance back, and her stomach twisted. Figures loomed, their forms grotesque and distorted, mocking them with their laughter. It was as if the alley itself was alive, hungry for their fear. A sudden gust of wind swept through the alley, wrapping around them like icy fingers, carrying the scent of decay. Lisa stumbled, but Ethan steadied her. Keep going. He urged, though his voice quaked. The flicker grew brighter, a real light, not just a figment of her imagination. Hope surged, propelling her forward. But the shadows were relentless, pressing harder, tearing at her will. What do you want from us? She screamed into the void, desperate for any response. Everything you cherish, the shadows whispered in unison. Your fear is our feast. Heart pounding, Lisa yelled, get away from us. She was losing ground, the shadows clawing at her ankles, trying to drag her back. But Ethan surged ahead, drawn to the light like a moth. Mommy, it's right there. He shouted, joy breaking through his fear. We can make it. Lisa's heart swelled, they could reach it. But then, she hesitated. Something flickered in the light, a shadow dancing just beyond reach. Ethan, wait. She cried, lunging forward. She pulled him back as the shadows writhed in protest, furious at their potential escape. Why are we stopping? Ethan whined, his eyes wide with confusion and fear. Because I don't think it's safe. Suddenly, the flicker morphed into a blazing beacon, breaking through the haze with blinding intensity. Lisa shielded her eyes, but not before hearing an anguished wail emitted from the light. Join us. Join us. It called, seductive and sinister, a stark contrast to the childlike cries before. Ethan's hand slipped from hers, entranced by the glow. Mommy. It's beautiful. No. Ethan. Panic surged through her. She lunged forward as he took a step toward the light, shadows recoiling and then lunging once more. Each heartbeat felt like a ticking clock, echoing a countdown. Lisa had to decide. Did she leave Ethan to save herself, or could she wrench him back into the darkness? The shadows howled in hungry frustration, threatening to consume everything in their wake. Ethan. Come back. She yelled, scrambling to pull him away from the allure, the shadows swirling in angry shadows around her. And then, a rift formed in the air, an unsettling mix of darkness and light swirling together, drawing them in. Mommy, I see them. Ethan gasped, reaching out again. The children. They're here. Lisa's breath quickened. What children? Was it just another trick? The shadows hissed and slithered, tightening their grip. The flicker of light spun, flickering with urgency. You must choose. Will you join us or be devoured? Terror gripped her heart once more, squeezing tight. She had to act. Would she risk everything for the chance to save her son, or was it too late? As the shadows surged forward, ready to claim them both, the rift pulsed, and she felt a force of darkness pulling at her core, threatening to disintegrate everything she ever was. Would they escape, or was the darkness their final destination? The laughter turned sinister, the cries of children a haunting echo that would follow her forever. Make a choice. Make a choice. And then, silence. What now awaited them in the depths of that swirling void? Lisa's heart raced as the eerie silence stretched, suffocating in its intensity. The shadows, pulsating like a living thing, retreated ever so slightly, but their hunger was palpable, a predator watching its prey. "Ethan!" she cried out, her voice breaking. The rift flickered, casting jagged shadows on the cobblestones, merging light and darkness like a twisted work of art. "We have to stick together." But temptation lured Ethan closer, a spark of innocence trapped within that ominous glow. "Mommy! They're calling for me." His voice danced in the cool night air, a chilling melody that echoed back at her. The shadows hissed, eager for his surrender. "Yes, little one. Come play." The laughter lay heavy, thick with malice. The figures that hovered near the light twisted and writhed, their shapes indistinguishable, yet somehow all too familiar. A knot twisted tighter in Lisa's gut. "No. You're not going anywhere." Fumbling through her fear, Lisa lunged forward, grabbing Ethan's wrist with a vice-like grip. She pulled him back, closer to her, away from that dreadful light. The moment felt suspended, agonizingly fragile, as if the world had fallen silent just for them. "Mommy, I want to go to them." His voice trembled, laced with longing and confusion. "They're just kids. They're not scary." But then the rift shuddered violently, sending a pulse through the alley, resonating with an ominous whisper, "Be careful what you wish for, Ethan." Lisa shook her head violently. She couldn't let go. Not now. Not when she saw horror hidden within the light. The faces of those children flickered in and out of view, their smiles eerily stretched, eyes dark as the depths of the void. Lisa had seen enough horror movies to know this was a trap, a sick invitation to oblivion. As she tightened her hold on Ethan, the shadows leapt toward them, angry claws raking through the air. "Join us. Be ours forever." They howled, their voices layered and overlapping, each one more sinister than the last. "Mommy, they're just sad," Ethan cried. "They need us." "No," Lisa shouted, panic stripping away her composure. "They don't need us, they want to take us." The shadows lunged with renewed fervor, swallowing the alley in darkness. The rift unleashed a pulse of blinding light, and Lisa felt it tug at her soul, a paradox of warmth and cold fear tightening around her. Ethan's gaze met hers, wide and pleading, and she could see the flicker of doubt wavering. But the light was too tempting, too inviting. "Choice, Lisa. The time to choose is now." The shadows taunted, her mind buzzed. What would they become if they gave in? She glanced at her surroundings. The cobblestones shimmered under the light, the cracks seeming to pulse, drawing her in. "Ethan," she breathed, "if we step into that light, we might not come back." The thought gnawed at her, launching 1,000 fears through her mind. The unknown was terrifying, but so was the idea of losing him. "Mommy." Ethan struggled against her grip, wresting away. "They just want friends." "Ethan. No. Please." Lisa's heart thundered as she felt the shadows closing in again, their laughter rumbling in her skull like thunder. The rift convulsed, almost as if it were alive, sucking away pieces of reality while offering nightmares in return. The laughter crescendoed, revealing an even darker truth. "Join us, we grow hungry, the feast awaits too late." She realized she was losing him. Ethan was free, offering himself to the light, and she could only watch, paralyzed by fear as his willingness to surrender blossomed. "Ethan, I love you. Come back." She screamed, desperation spilling out. But the whispers grew louder, drowning her voice, reverberating in a spine-chilling symphony of despair, and for a fleeting moment, she thought she saw the light flicker even brighter, felt its warmth drawing her closer to a point of no return. Then, everything went dark. As the shadows closed in, all-consuming and merciless, she whispered a prayer of denial, hoping to break free from their suffocating grasp. "Let us have your fear, and we may set you free." But would she ever escape this nightmare? What had she unleashed upon herself and Ethan? In the consuming silence, lingering echoes of laughter solidified her dread. In that terrifying moment of choice, the alley seemed to whisper one final, haunting question: what lies beyond the veil of light and dark? The dark alley twisted around Lisa like a trapped animal, winding tighter and tighter as though the town itself sought to smother her hopes. In the very depths of her despair, she felt a shatter of resolve. Ethan was slipping away towards that treacherous light, captivated by the beckoning shadows. Each frantic heartbeat roared like a war drum in her ears. She couldn't let the darkness win. Ethan. She lunged forward, grasping at him with every ounce of strength she could muster, fueled by a fierce determination to protect him. His innocent eyes shone with confusion, and in that moment, she saw a flicker of hope, just a flicker, but incandescent against the black. "Stay with me, buddy," Lisa shouted, pulling him back. He blinked, momentarily shaken from the gravitational pull of the light. Tears brimmed in his eyes as the shadows hissed around them. "What do you see?" she demanded, willing him to focus. "Tell me." I don't know." They're just his words faltered as the shadows pressed in closer, coiling around them, whispering sinister promises. "Listen to me." Her voice broke, raw and quivering. "They're not your friends. They want to take you from me." The swell of desperation pushed against the thick air and she fought back a sob, determination clawing at her throat. "No. They're sad. We need to help." Ethan's voice rose above the swirling chaos, a sweet echo of innocence, but Lisa would not let him slip away. "No," she yelled, a wrenching pain pulsing through her heart. "This isn't a game. They're tricking you into a darkness you can't escape." The alley erupted with laughter, a twisted cacophony that echoed off walls that seemed to close in, hungry and aware. Just then, the flickering light expanded, revealing more anguished faces, children drawn into the trap of Maplewood lost forever. "Mommy!" Ethan cried, his hands slipping from hers as the shadowy figures surged, desperate for his innocence. Lisa's heart crashed in her chest. "No, Ethan. You have to fight." In that moment, she realized the shadows fed off the pain and fear in the air, how every whispered accusation and lost childhood empowered their sinister force. "You're stronger than them," she pleaded. "Remember the swing set? The backyard? Think of our home." Ethan hesitated. The flickering lights dimmed for just a second, and she seized the opportunity. Lisa dashed forward, reaching for her son. She gripped his shoulders and pulled him back, her fierce love pushing against the shadow's insatiable appetite. "We'll find the light together. I promise." Suddenly, the laughter faltered, the shadows recoiled, unsure of this maternal bond that faced them. "But what will you pay?" The deepest voice cooed through the darkness, deep and chilling. "Take me," she shouted, not even hesitating. "Just let him go. If you want fear, take me instead." Lisa felt a sudden, jarring silence wash over the shadows as the very air shifted momentarily. Could this audacious act save her son? Ethan's eyes widened, desperation shifting to panic. "Mommy, no. I'll fight for you." She squeezed his hands harder, a fierce defiance coursing through her. "I will never give up. I love you." The shadows hissed in rage but tugged back, wavering. "We can feast on your darkest fears, your deepest regrets, and they will make you ours." Lisa bathed in that daring honesty. "You can't take what I wouldn't willingly give." Her fierce declaration echoed, and in that instant something changed. The shadows hissed, splintering as though caught in a painful promise. They knew a light shone brighter than theirs. As the darkness pulled back, trembling, Ethan brightened, fear fading from his features. "Mommy," he whispered, confusion mixed with clarity. "We can do this." "Yes," she shouted, and together, they took a step toward the light, hands intertwined, hearts pulsing with the rhythm of unwavering hope. They might not be free yet, but they had each other, and that was enough. With every step, the shadows dissolved, their chilling laughter transformed into agonized wails, the cries of children lost to Maplewood. The light throbbed like a heartbeat, a beacon that shattered the darkness that had once deceived them. As they hurtled toward the shimmering radiance, the unyielding grip of fear loosened. The chill of uncertainty crept away, replaced by the warmth of a bright resolve. Beyond the threshold, the unseen world shimmered with possibilities anew. Lisa felt her heart swell with dignity and will. We are the light. We will never be taken. The shadows shuddered one last time, receding into the darkness, trapped in their own web of deceit. And then, they were free, bursting into a warm glow, washed clean of the darker thoughts that had consumed them. Maplewood receded in the reflection of warmth that wrapped around them. Turning to Ethan with tears of relief in her eyes, she breathed, "We found our way back." Ethan nodded, enveloping her in a fierce embrace. "I was so scared, Mommy." "I know," she whispered, holding him tight. "But we're safe now." As they stood rooted in the glow, the town faded further behind until it seemed merely a dark shadow of their past. At that moment, they both understood, love, spirit, and courage triumphed over the darkness. Maplewood's true face may have been hidden in the shadows, but their bond shined brighter than anything it could conjure. They took that first step away from fear, together, as the town lay behind them, a cautionary tale, now powerless against the strength of a mother's love. Now is your moment. Don't let this journey end here. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will blow your mind. Smash that like button now to help us reach more amazing fans. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this thrilling conclusion. And, listen close, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion unfold. Don't wait even one more second. True fans know how important it is to support the channel through these actions. Your excitement fuels our stories.